Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to go over my new tank setup. This has been an amazing build. It's good resources, good recovery, great resistances. It's an overall great tank build and I highly recommend it. Now, my stats, max magicka is 18.3, my max health is 41k, my max stam is 22.2, my magic recovery is 638, my health recovery is 705, and my stamina recovery is 695. My spell resistance is 25.9, my physical resistance is 23.9. I have 30 into magicka and 34 into stamina, and the boon I'm running is the steed, which is simply more or less for the health recovery. Now, I am using tri-stat food. If you want it, if you like those recoveries where they are, if you'd like them to be a little more, you could use Pale Ale, Agony Pale Ale here, which is, depending on my mood, depends on which one I'm using. And with this, my max magicka drops to 14k, my max health is 35.3, my max stamina is 17.5, which is still really good for a tank. But my recoveries jump to, my magic recovery is 1048, my health recovery is 1.2, and my stamina recovery is 1.1. Again, which is, so, give or take. I mean, this, I would highly recommend the Pale Ale. If you would rather have the higher resource pools, go with tri-stat food. It's entirely up to you, and it's more or less about your preferences. Now, fully buffed with the Pale Ale, I am setting at, my health recovery goes up to 1.5, my stamina recovery goes up to 1.4, my spell resistance is 31.2, and my physical resistance is 29.2. Now, skills. Front bar, I use Pierce Armor, which is your basic taunt. You put Major Fracture and Major Breach, reducing their physical and spell resistance by 5,280. You're always going to use this. I mean, if you're not using this, you really need to be. Now, Heroic Slash, all these do a little bit of damage, but that's not the main point. It's not why you use them. Heroic Slash infects the enemy with minor maim, reducing their damage done by 15% for 12 seconds. And you also gain minor heroism, granting you one ultimate every 1.5 seconds for 9 seconds. Igneous Shield puts a shield around you and your allies for 3.5k, and your own damage shield absorbs 200% additional damage. You also gain Major Mending, increasing your healing done by 25% for 3 seconds. Green Blood, drawing your Dragonic blood to heal for 36% of your mixing health. You also gain Major Fortitude, Major Endurance, and Minor Vitality, increasing your health recovery and stamina recovery by 20%, and healing received by 8%. Now, with this, your healing received you're going to go up by 8%. This is going to give you your healing done by 25%. So essentially, if you're low or you need to heal, whatever, you pop Igneous Shield and you pop Green's Blood within seconds, and you will shoot all the way back up to full health. Now, Absorb Magic bolsters defense, absorbing up to 17.6 damage from the next spell projectile cast to you and healing for 16% of your max health. While you have a shield equipped and this ability slotted, the amount of damage you can block is increased by 8% and the cost of blocking is reduced by 8%. And then we have Magma Shell, which ignite the molten lava in your veins, limiting incoming damage to 3% of your max health and dealing 493 flame damage to nearby enemies each second for 10.8. While activated, nearby allies gain a damage shield for 100% of max health for 9 seconds. Now, if you have Warhorn here, put Warhorn here and just put Magma Shell in your back bar. But if you don't PvP and you ain't got Warhorn, by all means, go with Magma Shell. This comes in real handy, especially at the last boss of Falkreath Hold, Dumaz. It can come in handy and Cradle of Shadows. It can come in handy just about anywhere when there's a big area of effect damage. That's 100% shield. You're giving them a second health bar. It is always great to have. Back bar, Inner Beast. This is kind of a ranged taunt. It does do some damage and it gives us energy for your allies to pop, dealing a little bit of damage, but it's mostly a ranged taunt for a tank. Choking Talons. This is your CC control. It's going to do some magic damage. It's going to immobilize them for 4 seconds, which is, you really want them immobilized. This is what that's for. It also infects them with minor maim, reducing their damage done by 15% for 5 seconds. So essentially, 1 second. So essentially, they'll be trapped for 4 seconds. And then a second after, then you have 1 more second after that. So once they get free, they still have that minor maim for 1 second, which isn't much. While enemies are held, allies can activate Impel to deal 3,000 magic damage. Another synergy for your allies to pop. Hardened Armor gives you Major Resolve, Major Warden, increasing your physical resistance and spell resistance by 5.2 for 20 seconds. You also gain a damage shield equal to 15% of your max health for 3.1 seconds. While active, the armor returns 470 magic damage to your melee attackers. Essentially, you're just going to pop. You'll see the little shell around your health. And it's not that high, but it can come in handy. It can save you in some situations. Fiery Grip, this is your chain. You got an archer off in the side. They don't want to seem to come to you. You just throw a chain out, you pull them in. Grants Major Expedition, increasing your movement speed by 30% for 6 seconds. This attack cannot be dodged or reflected. Essentially, you'll just pop that chain at them and you can move. Pop it, taunt them. Or CC them, whatever you like to do. Then Circular Protection. Brand the earth at your location with a Rune of Protection for 20 seconds. You and your allies in the area gain minor protection and minor endurance, reducing your damage taken by 8% and increasing your stam recovery by 10%. That's for you and your group, everybody within the circle. And then the last ultimate is Shield Wall. Reinforce your shield, allowing you to automatically block all attacks at no cost for 5.3 seconds. Now, like I said, if you have Warhorn here, put Warhorn, and then on your back bar, put Magma Shell. If not, these work fine when you can morph it or morph it to the spell wall. Now, Circle of Protection, it has a huge cost, almost 8k stamina. And if you remember correctly, our stamina is 17. So essentially, we're going to have 10k stamina after we cast it. So what I like to do is that you should always start off the fight with that. So essentially, you'll buff up, you'll go in. And what you do, or what I like to do, is that I'll go in, I'll throw Circle of Protection down, and just pop a potion. My stamina will shoot right back up. And by the time it gets to the point where I need to use one of my tri-stat pots or a magic pot or whatever pots I'm using, it's there for me to use. Now, I think I've covered all of the skills. Now, for the gear. Well, no, we'll go ahead and go over the champion points for I always seem to forget the champion points. Now, again, I'm not max CP, so if you have more CP than me, just even them out with where I'm at. Bashing Focus, reduce the cost of bash by 13.22%. Moon 37 here in the Mooncalf, 19 in Tenacity. If you wanted to, we do have a lot of stam recovery, so you could lower this a little bit, put more in here. But whatever you do, when you do increase it, always remember, wherever you're putting your CP points, you want to get as close as you can to a whole percentage, because that 22% doesn't matter at all. But if I was to go to 18, I think it goes to like 4.98, and I do need that whole percentage. So 72 into ward here for reduced cost to block, 3 into tumbling, reduced cost to roll dodge. Now 49 into blessed. Now this is just for my healing. It's going to increase my healing for my green's blood, vigor if you have it. So essentially, it's just more for me to heal myself with, because you're not going to use much out of the skill line. You won't. I have these here: 49 in mighty, 27 piercing, 10 precise strike, 17 into thermometer. Mostly just because when you're off DPSing doing a quest, you want a little bit of damage, and I will probably later in the week be putting out a tank DPS build for you to get through with your quest, because that was a question that I got with what setup would I use for that when I'm questing. So I have none here. I have 50 into hardy, 57 into elemental defender. Then I have 32 into quick recovery, just increasing my healing received, and 14 into heavy armor focus. And that is my champion points. Now onto the gear. First 5 piece I'm running is Iron Blood, an infused sword with a Crusher enchant, which basically Crusher enchant, reduce target physical and spell resistance. If you're not using this on your tank, it is the only enchantment you should be using on your tank. Crusher. Always Crusher. Back bar, and then the second 5 piece is Plague Doctor. Now the shield is in pin with stamina, but my Iron Blood shield is in pin as well, and I was going to transmute the traits, but then I didn't have enough transmutation crystals, and you know, it would kind of, if I would change it to infuse if I was to change it to anything, which would put my resources off. So if my front bar had infused and I switched to my back bar, whatever it would be, if it was a max stam check, my max stam would go down, so it would just put my resources off when I would switch bars. So to keep things even, when I switched to front and back bar, I just left them both in pen. But if you have the transmutation crystals, or you can get them, I would highly recommend infused on the shields with a tri-stack glyph. This shield's they're both enchanted with max stam, and then I have a Plague Doctor Mace Sharpen. Now this should be infused as well with a Crusher enchant. So essentially, infused on your shield and your sword. You know, your shield and sword, or mace and sword, whatever. They should both be infused. One, your weapon with a Crusher enchant, and your shield with a tri-stack glyph, or max down, up to you. Now, monster set. I have two different monster sets I'm running. The first one is Storm Fist, heavy, sturdy, max health, and the reason why you run one piece Storm Fist is for stam recovery. One piece is just stam recovery. Now, you don't have to use Storm Fist. You can use whatever monster set you have, as long as it does give you stam recovery. I have a Iron Blood Cursor chest infused with max health, a Shadow Rend shoulder, reinforced medium, and the reason why you run this is for the magic recovery. Now, you can use magic recovery on the head, stam recovery, or if you would prefer, you can run both with magic recovery. But as you can see, as you saw, our recovery was good across the board, so I went 1-1. Waist, I'm using Iron Blood, enchanted with health, sturdy. Hands, Iron Blood, max health, sturdy. Plague Doctor legs, infused with max health, and Plague Doctor boots, reinforced with max health for a little more resistances. This one is enchanted with max stam, just for a little bit more stamina resources. Now, necklace, Iron Blood, enchanted with shield play, reduced cost of bash by 286, and reduced cost of blocking by 191. Now, if you wanted to, you could put a recovery glyph on here, but I wouldn't recommend it. Just stick with the recost of bash. You should always be running shield play enchantment on your jewelry. I highly suggest you doing that. Plague Doctor ring, both of them. Now, it is gold. Purple works just fine, but I mean, the cost of Plague Doctor rings right now and necklace, you could probably get one of each for 50, 60k. So you're looking at roughly 150k to 180k, and you can have a full gold set of neck and rings. But purple works just fine. But shield play enchant on every single one of them. And now, what these sets do? Now, what Plague Doctor does, 2-piece, it has max health, 3-piece max health, 4-piece, 4% healing taken. The 5-piece has 3.9 max health. Now, Iron Blood. What Iron Blood does is, this is definitely an amazing set. What this does is it's going to make you really tanky, and you're going to take, you're going to be able to take a lot of damage. Iron Blood, 2-piece max health, 3-piece physical resistance, 4-piece spell resistance. 2-piece 1.1k max health, 3 items 2.8k physical resistance, 2.8 spell resistance. The 5-piece, when you take damage, you have an 8% chance to turn your blood into pure iron and gain major protection for 10 seconds, reducing your damage taken by 30%. But your movement speed is reduced by 50%. This effect can occur once every 15 seconds. So essentially, for major protection, there is a 5-second downtime. Now, this usually procs consistently for me. You'll know when it procs. You'll turn into this big, kind of like Silver Surfer or the T-1000 from Terminator. But you are very tanky. I mean, major protection, you can take a lot. You have high health. You have high stam, high magicka. I mean, your recoveries are high. So essentially, this is a solid build to take to just tank. I have no issues in vet dungeons with it. I've ran some normal. I've tanked normal Hell Raw with it, but outside of that, I haven't dived too much into trials lately, and that's on me. Hopefully, I will get some gameplay of this up. I think I'm going to go for a random pug group and just some random vet dungeon, whatever pops up. But essentially, this is the build. I have been loving this build, and I highly recommend it for any tank, especially a beginner tank. So, you know, Iron Blood, Plague Doctor is an overland drop from Deshawn. Iron Blood drops out of Falkreath Hold. You can get the body and weapons on normal. They come in blue. Purple jewelry, you have to do it on vet. Um, Shadowrun, and Shadowrun drops out of chest. Don't quote me on this, but I want to say Maj. And then Stormfist is Tempest Island. You do it on vet, final drop. Anyway, that is the build. Let me know what y'all think in the comment section. And as always, thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.